You're watching the Battered Fans Network.
Welcome, everybody, to episode number 15 of the Better MLS Fans Podcast. I am your host, Daniel Ganan, and alongside me, as always, I got a couple other MLS podcasters. Today, we're talking West Coast. I am outnumbered today. So let's start from my left to your right, Mr. Mitchell Carroll from Denver. How are you doing, sir?
Great, man. Thank you so much for having me back. This is great.
Yeah, man, I miss your studio. For those of you who don't know, you got to watch Mitch, best studio probably in the country that I've seen. So
thank you.
Shout out to you
DNVR.
And studio.
Yeah, DNVR Rapids. Check us out, Twitter, YouTube, all that. We get pretty lucky to piggyback off of the the Broncos studio and the Nuggets studio and all that. So we can also jump in there and have the production value, and it's pretty nice. So
wow, it's beautiful. It's nice. It's definitely nice. All right, Alex. What's going on, Alex from RSL? Now, for those of you, because I know we have a lot of Miami fans that are going to watch this. Alex, if you don't remember, was a guest on the Battered here at the beginning of the year, and then he put up some videos on Twitter of them trying to have some fun at Chase Stadium the night before. Shout out to Alex for that. I love that. What's going on, Alex?
Yeah, man, we got sent out to go cover the Miami game in Miami, and so it was cool to head out there and see the East Coast for the first time in my life. But everything's going good, ready for playoffs to start, and ready for more MLS action, man.
Yeah, man, this is the best time of year. Look, I love the playoffs in all sports, and that's why whenever anyone says, "Let's get rid of the playoffs and let's just stick to the Supporters Shield," personally, I think it's crazy because I love a good playoff run, but that's just me. And then let me go to Mr. California himself, Eric. What's going on, my man?
Not much, man. Just enjoying this lovely California weather. We're right into the Santa Ana wind, so it's hot and dry here right now, and man, I love playoff time as well, and it starts to get a little cooler out, which winter in Southern California is a magical time, I will say.
Oh, I could only imagine. And for those of you bringing up Vancouver, Eric, like 2 months ago, said that he would love to play Vancouver in the playoffs. And Eric got his wish. I don't know how the Galaxy coughed that one up, but they managed to do it.
Oh, they did. Yeah. Oh, man. Let me tell you, what a glorious night.
Just tell us about that night, because I don't know if you've talked about it since then.
I haven't.
But, all right, so last Saturday, you were at the stadium. I saw videos of people watching the game on their phone. Well, how was that night, Eric?
Man, we've been spoiled as LAFC fans where in our history, which is, up to 7 years now, we have had some incredible vibes on nights, This year we won the Open Cup. That was a great vibe, but I will say this last game, the vibes were better than when we won the Open Cup because there is a huge animosity with our crosstown rivals, which are a mere 7 miles away from our stadium. And to watch them, man, all right, so I'll take another little step back for some atmosphere here. So I have season tickets. I've been in my same seats since we started in 2018. And the guy who's been behind me the entire time, too, had some friends coming into town and said, hey, can I buy your tickets off you so we can sit together? And I was like, no problem. The guy gives me his tickets when he can't make games. So I was like, yeah. So my wife and I, we try to get supporter sections like at least once a year, and we hadn't. So we went and got tickets in the supporter section. So we spent that game in the 32-52.
Oh, so you were vibing.
We were vibing, and we watched that, we went down 0-1 in the first half, and we're like, man, doesn't this team, we knew we had to win by 2 points to have a chance. And we're like, are we just going to lose? We're not even showing up. Then the second half came in, they roared back, put in 3 goals. It's 3-1. Right when it goes to 3-1, we're all now checking our phones just to see a penalty given in stoppage time to Carson. And we're like, oh, man.
For those of you that aren't aware, when he says Carson, he's referring to the LA Galaxy, just in case.
Yeah, I don't say that word. There is no G word in my vocabulary. It's Carson or it's that other team.
All right.
I never
want to clarify for those that weren't sure.
I'm a fucking homer. So, anyways, we see this happen. We're like, and who would think there's 2 minutes of stoppage time left in this? And then all of a sudden, they put the game up on the big screen, and man, what an equalizer! And it was an ex-Carson player that did it to them, and so we took first. And man, that stadium went crazy. Everybody sat. We were 10 minutes after our game ended at this point, and like just sticking around. And man, it was top notch vibes. And I mean, this is why we love the game, isn't it?
100%. For moments like that, it's the absolute best. Could you imagine if that would have been for the Supporter Shield? It would have been like very Man City 2012-ish. Remember Man City and Liverpool? I don't know if you guys remember that with the Agüero call. It would have been those vibes. But I still prefer my playoffs. But yes, very similar to that. A very cool moment. I remember those videos of everybody getting the reaction on their phone. I thought it was really cool.
We were hugging and jumping up and down, man. It was something.
All right, and then we do have one last guest, George from Dynamo Fan TV, I believe it's called. I don't want to get that wrong, so let me just double check. But George will be joining us to talk Houston Dynamo Fan TV. Yeah. But he said he's going to be a little late, so we are going to talk Houston, Seattle with him in a little bit. But he's not here, so let's get going, and let's start from the top to bottom. So let's start with LAFC Vancouver. I guess we'll stick with you, Eric.
Oh, hey.
You said it when you were on here like 2 months ago. I would love to play Vancouver again because we always seem to kick their ass. And you've played them like 37 times over the last 12 months, haven't you? How are you feeling about this first series?
I mean, watch them absolutely beat down Portland last night.
That was impressive.
What a game of football! Because like before that, I follow a ton of Brasileiro, and I watch a lot of South American. I don't really watch much European, but earlier in the day we watch Botafogo absolutely smack down Penarol 5-0, and then we see Vancouver, the poor man's Botafogo, knock down Portland, the poor man's Penarol 5-0. Yeah. So it was a day of 5-0s for me, but I'm not deterred. I still want to see this Vancouver team. Portland's a little more volatile. Like their good games, I think, are better, but their bad games are also worse. Vancouver's definitely consistent. Sartini's done a great job with that team. But to your point, we played them 7 times last season, and we have played them. We've played them 4 times this season. So I believe this will be our 12th, 13th, and possibly 14th meeting in 2 years. So nice. Wow. There's a ton of fatigue. We have, so absolutely ridiculous, but we have done quite well against them the whole time. They will have Ryan Gauld back, which definitely makes a much more dangerous team, but so far, so good. We've been firing on all cylinders. We're on a good stretch. So I feel pretty confident coming into meet them in our house that, I think this is going to be a 2-game series.
Now, where's that game going to be played? Because I know Vancouver is displaced for that home game that they're supposed to have, no?
Ooh, I'm not sure, but I doubt they're all 3 are going to be in Los Angeles. I know last night it was supposed to be in Vancouver, but there was a motocross thing going on.
Yeah, they're not going to be able to host that game. I wasn't sure if they were going to have Vancouver host the first one and then the last 2 in LA. I'm going to double check that, but I know.
No, we're Sunday. It's Sunday in LA.
100%.
100%. I got my tickets on my phone. So, this game is Sunday in Los Angeles. The week after. If it's not going to be in Vancouver, I imagine they'll play it somewhere up in the Pacific Northwest where their fans can get a chance to go to it. I mean, that's the whole reason they have 3 games is so that one of the teams home game. So, I mean, that would be like bottling it on a whole other front office level. But I will point out this is that there is a concert scheduled at BMO Stadium on the same night as MLS Finals. So, if LAFC happens to make the final and we happen to host, I don't know how it's worked, but there is a concert booked that night already. So possible.
Who is it?
It's going to be at Dignity Health Sports Park.
No, I think they might go Rose Bowl. Rose Bowl, I think, would be more likely, but
yeah, but you said that for the final?
Yeah. There's a concert
December 7th.
Yep. They have a concert scheduled there for.
Well, it would have to be against a team that isn't Miami or Columbus, and it feels like it's one of those 2 teams that's going to make it out of the East. So
no, I agree with you. With you. But it's the playoffs. Anything can happen.
Yeah. Look, single elimination for sure.
Yeah, and also, the Supporter Shield winner has only usually most often doesn't even make the cup. Like this is so. There's only been, I think, 6 double winners in the history of MLS of Shield and Cup. So it
Last
always
one was LAFC.
yeah, and before us it was Carson, I believe. So it's
All
always
right.
one of those things. It seems like the Supporter Shield go in, but it's such a grind for the regular season, and you
Yeah.
just got to get hot, and that's it.
All right. All right. Alex, how you feeling about the LAFC Vancouver? Are you thinking it's going to be a mob job like I'm thinking?
I like Vancouver.
Okay.
Like Eric mentioned, Vanni Sartini has done a phenomenal job with that Vancouver team. They definitely kind of fell maybe a little bit short of where I expected them to be this season, but Ryan Gold coming back from injury, I think will be super massive. However, I don't think they have the depth to keep up with LAFC. I do believe I don't know if this will even make it honestly to that third game. I highly favor LAFC in that first round.
Now, just in case anybody was wondering, I was interested to see how many games our series actually went all 3 last year, and out of the 8 series, only 3 of them went to all 3 games. So 5 of them went straight to and gone. So I don't think many are gonna go this year either. Maybe some. Mitch, how are we feeling? LAFC Vancouver mop job.
Yeah, I mean that game last night was pretty fun, right?
It was eye opening, right? If I'm LAFC, I start. Oh, okay.
That was like a domination we don't see a lot, right? That was like, ooh, they're beating the brakes off a team that a lot of people that had, a guy possibly stealing some MVP votes, and it wasn't even a competition. So, I'd be a little nervous seeing that, right? Like, it's a lot different than someone who's, like, I'm sure you'd rather see a team like, the Rapids, who has lost 4 straight going into the playoffs, right? Like, the form is much scarier for me for a team like Vancouver to play LAFC. Now, I would never put them as favorites. I wouldn't put money on Vancouver, but I would be nervous just seeing how well they played just, so recently.
For sure. But you think LAFC got it in 2 games?
Yeah, probably 2 games.
I think that might be the consensus. Alex, you said 2 games also, even though you think it would be a good series.
I do. Yeah, I still think that LAFC, of course, are 1 in better form and 2 have the better depth than this Vancouver side, because Ryan Gold, as amazing as he is, I feel like he's been injured more than he has been available for this Vancouver side. So they're going to need to figure out how to manage Ryan Gold and make sure that, they're not overuse him, especially coming back from injury.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't think they have the depth necessary to kind of replace a guy like Ryan Gold. So yeah, I think in the end, LAFC's depth will come into play, and Vancouver, of course, just does not have the depth to keep up with LAFC. So I like LAFC in this one.
I also think that the playing game, I mean, I get the concept, but it really puts whoever plays that playing game at a huge disadvantage. For example, Vancouver's going to have 4 games to rest before they play in LA. So they're playing basically 3 games in 8 days. And it's not even as bad as Atlanta has it, because Atlanta's playing 3 games in 6 days because they have to play on Friday. They got 3 days rest, Tuesday to Friday, and they played on. So they're even worse. 6 days, 3 games. It's a huge disadvantage. They got to work on that, because that's pretty rough.
No, that's how it's supposed to be. Like,
no, but that's too much of a disadvantage.
No, I mean,
you know what? But even the Whitecaps, 8 days, 3 days. But Atlanta, 6 days for 3 games. That's 6 days.
Hey, don't finish in 9th place then.
Yeah, that's a fair point too. That's a fair point.
I guess. But geez, you're already going up on the road against the best team in the conference, and then I don't know. I think it's rough. I mean, look.
People, when they argue for like the 2 legs in the playoffs, which I've seen some people do, not as much anymore. It makes sense, I think, in CONCACAF, but for this, no, because when you have 2 legs, like, there's no real advantage, and the whole point of the season is for seeding for the playoffs. And even when it was just before this 3-match play-in, they would always structure the playoffs so the lower seeded team always had like 1 less day of rest than the home team did. And I think, like, that advantage is super critical to make the regular season mean more as it should.
I could see that. I could see that point. But another advantage to finishing high is that you end up with, as the Galaxy, they lost the first seed, ended up in the second seed, but still ended up against a team that's kind of stumbling at the end of the season, now against Colorado. So I guess we'll go into that series now. LA Galaxy, Carson, and against Colorado Rapids.
I like you, Daniel. That's why I love your show.
Mitch, so how are we feeling about your chances against the Galaxy? Honestly, I was, if you would have told me to put money on it, I would have not guessed that they would give up that first seed. But you know, I mean, that's the thing about this league, and this, I love it. How are you feeling about the series?
You know, the Rapids were in what, third, looking at second. 5 games left on the schedule.
Right.
You lose Cole Bassett to injury. Kevin Cabral's still not back. Zach Steffen misses decision day with an injury. He picks up at national team camp. And then 8 minutes into decision day, Georgi Mihailovic with one of the gnarliest ankle sprains I've seen on a soccer pitch in a long time. And so, you know, you lose 4 straight. How can you be excited right now going into this? Until you look at, you know, Rapids scored 61 goals this year, led the league in XG. And you're going against a team that gives up a lot of goals. Now, LA is going to obviously be the favorite. There's a reason the Rapids are right. There's a reason the Rapids are, you know, almost plus 400 at this point. But you like to give them puncher's chance because no one gave them a chance in Leagues Cup, and they went into Dignity Health Park and grinded out a 0-0, 10-9 PK victory over Club America. And, you know, so it's like, no, I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, the Rapids are going to do it. But they know how to score goals. They know how to score goals on set pieces. They know how to create chances on the counter. So there's a shot. There's a shot. Now, I'm not going to pick them to win. I want them to win. But man, it's you know, the Georgie injury is really a bummer. If he can come back in game 2 at home, who knows? But having that happen at the end of the slide into the playoffs was so tough. It was so tough to have to deal with that.
I got a question for you.
Yeah.
I get it. So you ended up in 7th place. There was nothing you could do about that. But at one point, it seemed like you might be playing LAFC, and then you randomly end up playing against the Galaxy. Carson. Which of the two would you have preferred to play if you could have chosen?
Oh, I think this is definitely the better matchup is Galaxy for sure.
Okay.
You know, if you can, the Rapids there's worlds where Rapids win this in like a 3-2 game that is just up and down, and they converted enough of their high XG chances that they'll get. And it's like, holy crap, the Rapids won a game. And where LAFC is, they don't have the horses. You know, they're a team that added some nice pieces, but didn't add a lot of depth. And, you know, they're going to clear up a lot of cap space and you know, committed salary is going to come off the books, especially for some guys that aren't even on the team anymore in the winter. And then you can start adding the depth. But now against LAFC, the Rapids, you know, they'd be like 7-1, 8-1 dogs before the series even starts, you know?
I was looking back. So you guys got swept in the season series by the Galaxy, and you beat LAFC once, and then they took you out 4-0, I want to say, earlier in the summer.
3 or 4-0, yeah. The early game, the 3-2 was that was like a, you know, 1-0, 2-1, 3-2, like leads going back and forth, dramatic goals. That was really fun. The Galaxy, yeah. Man, Kevin Cabral, who just loves to score against the Galaxy, says thank you for paying half my salary still. Scores like a great goal on the break, a dead sprint, like a classic Cabral goal. And in the goal, literally falls, slides into the base of the goal at the back where the net comes down and breaks his elbow, right, against his former team. So in the return, you know, you're missing some guys. It's a close game. You know, that was one of those tough losses down the stretch where it was one of those ones you were okay with losing until you lose the games you were supposed to win, right?
Right.
The fact that was close and competitive is at least encouraging to the fact that the Rapids can hang with them. Now, I don't the Rapids will create enough scoring chances. That's just by design that they have a puncher's chance, but it's not much more than that.
All right, Alex, how are we feeling about Colorado's chances against Carson?
I think before I can kind of look at this game and make a decision, I got to ask Mitch, where is, I guess, the updates on Mihalovic, on Stefan, who obviously missed? Where are the injuries coming into this one? Because I think Colorado is a completely different team with those injured, with those guys on the field, obviously.
So everyone will be back except for Georgie for the first game. Zach and Cole Bassett are both pain-free, but just were held out to be ready for the playoffs. And then we got the update on Georgie that they're aiming for game 2 or hoping for game 2. He's not in a boot or on crutches. It's just a badly sprained ankle. I mean, I'm sure he's taking the precautions, but it's not like it's not like he tore something in his ankle or anything. There's a chance that he plays game 2, but everyone else will be there.
With a completely healthy Colorado, I think this series is really, really close. I've really liked the Rapids all season long. Obviously, they took the Rocky Mountain Cup from Rouse Lake this season. Rouse Lake have only beat the Rapids once this year. Colorado, I wanted to give them so much crap for hiring Chris Armas. I thought at the beginning of the season that was going to be a terrible, terrible hire, but they've proved everybody wrong, man. And I hope that they can continue to do that. I hope that they can continue to prove people wrong and hopefully be able to get past the LA Galaxy. Mostly just because I would like to see a Rocky Mountain Cup rematch in the next round. So yes, I would like Colorado, and I'm pulling for Colorado. But my heart and my mind telling me that maybe the Galaxy has the edge because their attack has just been so good this season. Paintsel, Peck, Joveljic, Ricky Puig. You add now Marco Royce to that mix. They have riches and riches on the offensive end. I think Galaxy takes the edge just because they have a little bit more. I mean, no disrespect, obviously, because the Colorado's had a fantastic season when it comes to scoring goals. But I do think that they have a little bit more of the edge on the attack, just because you bring in Royce, Pooch, and all those guys, and they look really, really good on the attack.
Yeah, look, Rapid scored 61 goals this year, but they gave up 60, right? They were only plus one goal differential, putting in 61 in the back of the net, right? So it's you have to just hope that it's a shootout and you converted the bigger chances, or you had one more conversion of bigger chances, or you hope that it gets to a penalty shootout because apparently the Rapids are the greatest penalty shootout team in the history of the world this year, and just cannot be stopped. Just penaltied their way to a CONCACAF spot in Leagues Cup. So actually,
hey man, whatever works.
That's another LAFC game where they lost was Leagues Cup. But yeah, look, that's their hope. 3-2, 3-3, 2-2, get to pens or steal a win.
And Kevin saying Rapids historically kick Galaxy's ass.
That's true. That is true. It hasn't been the case this year, but even last year when the Rapids were wooden spoon contenders, I think they outscored them like 5-1 on the series or something like that.
Well, before decision day
scores, yeah.
Before decision day, we had an episode where we were talking about decision day. We had a Galaxy guest on, and he was telling us how fearful he was because historically they just played poorly against Houston on decision day. And I mean, I was like, I'm sure you don't have nothing to worry about, but boom, there you go. History repeated itself. So who knows? Mm-hmm. That'd be interesting. That'd be cool.
Well, and the last time they met in the playoffs was 2016. It was Tim Howard in goal on the Rapid side, and that was Steven Gerrard. His last game was losing in a shootout on aggregate in Colorado in the playoffs. It was a pretty epic shootout. Skells and Gassi had like a 41-yard goal or something like that. It was just it's like a great YouTube watch to go look back at that game. But yeah, like really, I think in the last like 7 or 8 years, Galaxy only has like 3, 4, 5. Like they don't have a lot of wins in this series. So you add that into Chris Armas, who just has built a great culture there, and against all expectations, he's created this team, and after wins, he keeps having this phrase. He goes, "Why not the Rapids? Right? Why not the effing Rapids?" He said it like 4 or 5 times. Just finds a camera on the field after a win, and that belief is throughout the whole roster. I mean, this team is all rowing in the same direction. Even if it's had this slide, you've gone through it. Like, you've gone through these big games. You win the Rocky Mountain Cup. On a dramatic late penalty from your homegrown, right? It's like they've had these big moments where they've just dug deep and found a goal out of nowhere from guys that you
don't count them out.
Do it. Yeah, straight up.
Don't count them out. No, I like that. I love that. And then Eric, how do you feeling about Carson, Colorado? Oh, before you do that, real quick, somebody asked, is LAFC gonna sign Pogba?
Oh man, there's some pretty split decisions in the camp. Obviously, number one, he's French. We're turning into the home of all French world.
Hey, Miami's the home for all Argentines.
Yeah, so John Thorrington has said on multiple occasions that he only likes to use designated player slots on attackers, and that's it. He doesn't like them anywhere else.
I mean, Pogba has the skills to be an attacking midfielder.
No, he does. He does. How would he fit with Cherundolo's system? We don't really play possession ball, but yeah, we have
Giroud still hasn't fit in.
So yeah, they definitely, I think, are going to be looking to rework everything. It just comes down to the price. Is he willing to take a TAM deal? If TAM deal, no brainer. But if Pogba needs to have a DP, I think our front office still has their sights set on Griezmann. So. I think that's what it always comes down to. We're a salary cap league. Like,
bring them both on.
Yeah, man. If only everybody could be a TAM, like we'd sign the world.
Everybody that Miami signed seems to be a TAM.
Yeah.
All right, Eric, how you feeling about Carson versus Colorado?
My heart says Colorado. And my head says Colorado. So.
Oh, okay.
Let's go. Let's go.
No, Gabriel Peck, people quiero. Man, and that's what I yelled when I saw him. But he's the popcorn man. He's a choker, and I think that's going to come up here. If you notice right up here, this is my other team. I am a Porco, and so Rafael Navarro is a player I've been watching for a long time. I love Navarro. I've been telling Colorado people, even last year, I was like, if Navarro gets it figured out, he is going to be a beast in this league. And he's still not quite like one of the top 9s that I think he still is going to be better and higher rated in this league than he is now. But this game, I think, he's going to need to put that team on his shoulders. But he seems like he really likes Colorado. Like, if I follow his Instagram and he seems to really like Denver, and most Brazilians, you think they're flashy. They want to be in a Miami or they want to be in a LA or a New York City. But, he seems to have really, really be enjoying his life there. And so I think he's going to be really motivated to help that team pull it off. And Colorado's a scrappy team. Without Mihailovic, I think that it's going to be tough. I think the series is going to go to 3. But I agree, if there's any way he's going to come back, he's going to come back the second game if they're just shooting his ankle up with Novocaine to get him out there because, it's going to be win or go home at that point. It's a mata-mata.
Yeah.
So if you had to put money on it, you would still go Colorado? Money on the line?
Oh, I mean, the spread's got to be fantastic for Colorado's got to be huge dogs in this.
Yeah. No, it has to.
Yeah, no, that's a value bet for me for sure. Like, if this is a
you know what? I love the hate. I love the hate for Carson coming from you, Eric.
I honestly, like
it's interesting what you said.
Yeah.
It's interesting what you said about Rafa because he, not really reaching that level yet. He's at 15 goals this season, right? I mean, that's the second highest goal total we've ever had in Colorado. And so you're right. He gets one. Again, finally, he was on a bit of a slide. He gets one on decision day. And if you're right, if he finds the back of the net, I mean, he's a guy that's like a brace out of nowhere, right? Because he'll just find these kind of workman-like goals in front of the, where he just kind of, whether he's on the right end of the fourth pass or he just happens to find his foot on the junk ball in a crowd or whatever it is, he's super sly like that and can just kind of, these maybe low XG but dangerous area goals. And So that's cool. You've been watching him for a long time. He's become a really big favorite here, and Omir Fernandez and him have been like best friends, and I think that's part of why he's had such a good time here. Is he's just fit in culturally immediately, despite being the only Portuguese speaker on the whole team.
Yeah. I was telling some Rapids fans last season because they weren't super high on him, and I'm just like, this guy is just he's all effort, and he doesn't really have the cast. My only worry is that he would get frustrated around him because Palmeiras is, they're a top class team. He would get lots of good service there. He really only didn't start because they had Endrick and they were playing Endrick at the time. And so Navarro's not playing when you're developing Endrick when he's 16. And so, that's something I love the guy. I always love to see some Porcos succeed. It's
right.
also,
I love it.
It's Rafael Navajo. It's the you gotta go with the
okay. Gotta go with the.
It's
good luck with that, Mitch. Good luck with that, Mitch. All right,
I get it right about half the time. I don't know.
I want to make sure I introduce my guy here, George from Dynamo Fan TV. So Eric, right there, you see him right there. Loves him some George right now. He was talking about earlier about how much he loved that game from Saturday. George, how you doing, man?
Good, guys. Thank y'all for having me on here.
For sure. Now that I got you on, we were just talking about the Colorado LA Galaxy, or Carson, as Eric likes to call them. And if we thought that the Rapids had any chance, do you think the Rapids have any chance of beating the Galaxy?
Yeah, I mean, I think Galaxy is a great squad compared to what they were last year. Huge flip,
For sure.
But Colorado's also a great squad, and can Carson do it in Colorado with the weather and the altitude difference?
It might snow.
Might
snow.
Really? Oh, I hadn't heard that.
Yeah.
Well, LAFC couldn't do it in RSL, so.
Oh, okay. Oh, look at that. I hadn't heard about the snow. All right. Well, I guess since George is here, let's switch it over, because to me, I said the underdogs. People were asking, who is your underdog? Who's that sleeping giant that might knock off a big team? I kept saying Houston. If not Houston, Seattle. And people were saying Seattle's not a sleeper. Whatever. Those are my two sleepers, even if you don't consider Seattle a sleeper. They ended up playing against each other. So one of them is going to make it to the second round. I thought that one of those two could make it to the Western Conference Finals, but I think it's going to be the most interesting of the four series. George, how are you feeling about Houston versus Seattle? Is it going to be like a 0-0 draw and all three games are going to go to penalties?
No, definitely no.
Okay.
It's not the matchup I wanted to see. Honestly, I wanted the RSL matchup, even though I'm tired of, and I'm pretty sure everyone's tired of seeing that matchup. I think the Dynamo and RSL have faced each other in like 10 times.
We're tired of that matchup.
Yeah, but exactly. But you definitely go in confident against RSL, but a tough challenge like Seattle is great, and I think it's probably one of the hardest that the Dynamo would face. Obviously, LAFC, but if they can get through with Seattle, then I think they do have a high chance of going to the conference finals again. Sorry, Eric.
All right, so you think that Houston will take it in how many games?
I mean, maybe 3, but realistically, I think 2. I think they finish it off here at home. They definitely have to fight for their lives and go for a draw in Seattle. They have never pulled a result. Well, they've never won in Seattle. I think it's been many years since they've pulled a draw.
I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, so that's why I feel more confident. I would have felt more confident with the RSL matchup. The turf, the weather, and then just go to penalties in the first game and then finish it off here at home.
Well, I'm rocking with Houston, so I'm right there with you. I'm rocking with Houston over Seattle. Eric, let's go counterclockwise. Eric, how you feeling about this game? Houston, Seattle. Again, I think it's the most interesting I think Charlotte, Orlando in the East, and Seattle, Houston in the West are my two. Like, I really want to watch because I have no idea what's going to happen.
Yeah. I mean, this is a matchup because Houston, the way they play, like Houston punches above their weight. Like to me, Houston is like they're the team that nobody wants to see in the playoffs right now because I mean they basically like schooled us at our house and their house. They just schooled Carson, determination and man, and it's not even the first time they beat us. I think in the Open Cup like 5-6 years ago by getting like 2 goals in stoppage time to go to penalties. So they're kind of that Goonies never say die. I know San Jose likes to call themselves, but that team is like pretty much trash. No offense to San Jose people, they'll agree with me, but yeah, Houston, they're the Goonies never say die in the league right now, and I think they're a team that shapes up to be giant killers. Now, the thing with Seattle is, and Schmetzer just got extended on his contract, so he's going to be there a while, but Seattle's not really a giant this year. And so I think like that narrative, it's going to turn into more of a grind, war of attrition. And those are the kind of games that favor the Sounders. For me personally, I would love to see the Sounders because Trundolo is 6 wins and 2 draws. He's never lost to Schmetzer. And that's including the last 2 matches in Seattle where he pulled results. And then Houston is just, man, they're so unpredictable, so volatile. And if there's a team that really just matches up against us, it's them. So I do think that we are going to have our prayers answered and Seattle is going to go through on this one. I think it might go 3 games, but I won't be surprised if it's 2, I'm sorry, Jorge, because I freaking love you guys right now. So I hate saying that it might be a Seattle in 2, but I think if Seattle was LAFC or Carson, I think you guys are giant killers and Seattle's just not a giant. And I think that's where it's going to be trouble.
I was looking at the history since George brought that up. They've played each other in history. They've played each other 28 times. Houston's only won 5 of those. And the last one was in October of 2021. And before that, 2017. So I can see why George has his doubts because Seattle definitely has had their number. All right, Alex, how you feeling about Seattle-Houston?
I think this is one, like you were mentioning, man. This is probably the one that I'm most interested to see, just because I don't know which way to go on this one. Houston, like Eric was saying, Houston is always punching above their weight, but I feel like they're always so unpredictable. And this Seattle team, they're really good defensively, and then sometimes they can score and sometimes they can't. And so I think this is the series in the West that I truly believe will go all 3 games. And I'm feeling Seattle in this one. I think Seattle will end up taking it some way, somehow, but Houston's going to give them a run for their money, and this is one of those that's going to come down the wire, possibly a game 3 heading to penalties.
That would be an amazing watch. I'm really looking forward to that. And I'm really loving the way the MLS did where they're doing 2 games per day. So it's like an Eastern Conference, Western Conference. You have the chance to watch them all. I mean, they usually do it that way, but I mean, it's going to be a fun weekend of football. Mitch, I'll end it with you. How are we feeling? Seattle, Houston.
This is such a fun one because there's so many arguments I could hear to make me pick one team or the other. I think there's just so many little matchups and interesting players that can kind of be X factors that, Houston's been playing great. They were kind of a team I was worried about meeting when the Rapids were on the other end of the playoff, bracket and matching up. And, I love their midfield. It's probably one of my favorite midfields to watch in the entire league. But then you just have Seattle, who it doesn't matter what their team looks like, how their season starts, where they're at by 4th of July. They're just going to be in the mix. They're going to be a difficult out every time. They're going to find goals that make you throw things at the TV, and it's going to drive you crazy. And that's just what they do. That's just what they always do that. And so it's tough to pick, but I my co-host on DNVR Rapids has Houston going all the way. And I think my other co-host has Seattle going really far. So it's like, it's tough. I'm kind of in the middle where it's like, I think whoever wins this has a really good chance next and can put up a really good fight. But I'm leaning Houston. I love HAHA and Coco. They're so fun to watch. The whole team is well coached, super disciplined. Latif Blessing is like a sneaky MLS name that I've always liked ever since he was kind of on the outs with LA. I was hoping he'd end up in Commerce City. And yeah, I don't know. They're just a fun team.
That healthy Franco Escobar is a beast too.
Mm-hmm. Totally. Yeah, this is maybe the most fun if you're a neutral of any of these Western matchups, I think.
100%.
Just like
and just
get
like
some
the
popcorn and
Charlotte
sit
Orlando.
down and watch a playoff game. Like this is gonna be fun soccer.
100%. It should be pretty awesome. And then I guess we'll go on to the final series that we haven't spoken about yet, which would be RSL Minnesota. So I'll go over to Alex about RSL Minnesota and your boy Diego Luna. Young Player of the Year? We thinking?
Possibly, man. Diego Luna has been absolutely fantastic. I don't know if he ends up beating Gomez, but I do definitely think that Diego Luna deserves the Young Player of the Young Player of the Year award. Because man, he creates. He cuts in from inside, kind of plays like a free roaming wing, and he knows how to create, and he's very good at getting forward for Real Salt Lake. He is a big piece that I think we kind of missed. He kind of went on a little bit of a slump and a little bit of a slouch a couple of months ago, but he's really picked it up here to end the season, and that's really helped Real Salt Lake get back to better results. This is an RSL team who started off the year really hot and then kind of fizzled out. I'm still waiting to see Real Salt Lake get back to the team that they were in the summer and in the early parts of May. But I think that Minnesota at home, I really like that matchup. This is a Minnesota team that hasn't beat Real Salt Lake this season yet. And I think once Chicho Arango can get back on the score sheet, figure it out, I think this Real Salt Lake attack can get back to what they were in the summer.
How are you feeling, Mitch? You agree with Alex?
Yeah, so I'm an MLS awards voter, and I did have Luna for Young Player of the Year. I think he's absolutely electric.
Thanks, Mitch.
Look, dude, go to his FB ref page right now and look at those percentiles attacking and in possession. It's a work of art. This kid
I know.
He is an absolute. He's just one of those players that's like, he also has good. He has counting stats, but just like he is just one of those guys that just has it, whatever it is. He is the straw that can stir the drink a little bit more. He's a connector. He's a creator. He's a guy I absolutely love watching, and I hate to say that as a Pids guy, as a Burgundy boy over here. But they're just honestly RSL. I don't know how the Rapids pulled it off. It was real dogfight games, and they pulled it out. But RSL is just, they kind of remind me, not so much in style of play, but in danger, like a Columbus, where you're just like, they might put up 3 goals in like 15 minutes almost. And then all of a sudden you're just out of it, right? You just have some crazy, they just have so many guys, but you might just get this weird header from like a Crooks, or just like all of a sudden, and then they have a break, and then they have another break. And having those kind of teams in the playoffs is so difficult to bet against. Right, because if the floor is like 2.5 goals, right, you just kind of expect at least that in a game. Especially with home field, it's kind of hard to go against RSL in a series like this.
So I have a feeling that this is going to be the consensus all around. But let me go over to George. George, how are you feeling about the RSL Minnesota series?
No, yeah, just once Chicho gets sorted out, I think, RSL can do many things. Diego Luna is a great player, and yeah, Minnesota's a great squad, but I think I'm gonna have to give it to RSL.
All right, but Young Player of the Year is Diego Gomez over Diego Luna, right?
I don't know, man. I mean, I think Diego Luna's proven.
I know the numbers. That's the thing about Diego Gomez, is that his numbers aren't going to show, because what he doesn't really show up on the stat sheet as much as Diego Luna does. I know. All right, and Eric.
Hey.
How are we feeling? RSL Minnesota.
You know, Minnesota this year they've just been a little disappointing to me. Like I expected them to just be better this season, and they're a team that it seems like when they're in that opportunity to really show themselves as one of the top teams in the league, whether it's, there was a stretch where they were really close to like climbing into first in the West. And there was a game, I believe they had that chance and they were just flat. And I think when the big moment comes for Minnesota, they just haven't figured out a way to kick it up another gear into that. RSL, on the other hand, they're always a team that turns it up in the playoffs, whether their squad's good or bad. If they make it in, they're always a tough out and they're always unpredictable. It's a team that knows how to turn the pressure up in the big moments. And this is just something I haven't seen from Minnesota. So I think RSL is going to handle it. And I think I think Minnesota is going to probably come out a bit flat. Young player of the year, Diego Luna. I can't disagree with that. We have Christian Oliveira in there, but I give it to Luna. And Luna's defensive work rate is insane for the position he plays. And this is always something I love. I love with attacking players is when they have huge defensive work rate numbers. So, but don't sleep on David Martinez for next season. He's only got 471 minutes, but he just started playing, and that kid is going to be special. But
yeah, what are you going to do with Giroud?
Man, I don't know.
Point of that?
He's looking to me like kind of one of the worst signings in the league at all. I mean, he's got one goal in league play, I think, and it's one
What's
of those,
worse, him or Vela just coming to like take pictures with trophies?
Yeah, but Vela's helped us win trophies. Like Giroud.
Not this year.
No, not this year. But I mean, look, like Vela can come take a picture with every trophy as long as he wants. The first statue in our house is going to be Carlos Vela. He's got a key to the city for us. So
I get you.
whatever.
I get you.
We don't care. And 320,000 a year, like whatever. It's just kind of his farewell. But Giroud, he makes more money than Denny Bouanga does. And I don't think that's so much on Giroud because he's the player he is. And I've said it a couple episodes now, the team around him just isn't built for a guy like Giroud. Giroud requires service. He requires good passing around him. And we're basically a counter press, counter attacking team. We're going to make 2 or 3 passes, run in at goal and put it in, and that's it. And Giroud is a much more build-up type of guy. He's a guy that scores when teams are bunkering against you, and this is invaluable for teams. But the thing is we never score into that position. So, we have an inverted left back. We have a right winger who's not a crosser. He's a big direct threat. So the Giroud signing to me is a 2025 signing, and we need more pieces around him. David Martinez plays well with him. Anyways, I think he's going to be a much more big deal next season, and I think that we play better without him right now.
Okay, and that was going to be my next question. So you think that you're better without him when it comes to the playoff run?
Yeah,
right.
But how do you sit him on this? Kai Kamara is just, man, at 40 years old, that guy goes out there and he makes noise. Like Giroud does occupy 2 center backs every time he's out there, but however it is, he needs to figure out how to be more of a presence in the game. And right now it's almost similar, like Chicho Arango, when he first came, went through a very slow spell with us as well. But Arango's pressing was fantastic. So even though on the ball he wasn't productive for us, off the ball he was being very productive. And for 9, you don't really care about the defensive work rate. But if that's all you got, at least it's something. Giroud doesn't really have that either.
He doesn't contribute there either. All right, I can see that. This is going to be an interesting conversation in the offseason because LAFC ended up literally as the number 1 seed in the Western Conference. I'm interested to see if they're going to start moving pieces around to accommodate to Giroud. But again, that's the conversation for the offseason. Now, we went over the four series. So quickly, right, because we already went into these. So LAFC, Vancouver, the consensus was LAFC. Boom. Seattle, Houston, everybody's unsure. But do you think either Seattle or Houston could knock off LAFC on the way to the Western Conference Finals? Eric, do you think you would have any chance that you guys lose to Seattle or Houston?
Seattle will not knock us off.
Okay.
Houston absolutely can knock us off. Like I think that's the one team on this bracket that we all have nightmares on is Houston for sure.
All right. Alex, any chance the LAFC doesn't make it to the Western Conference Finals?
Look, I'm glad RSL fans aren't the only people scared of Houston, because when it comes to Houston, they're giant killers, man. And so I think if Houston can make it past Seattle, I think it would be a very, very fun and interesting matchup with LA taking on Houston.
All right. Mitch, any chance that LAFC doesn't make it to the Western Conference Finals?
Yeah, I mean the MLS is chaos, right? Like that's just what the MLS does. So of course there's always going to be a chance, and Houston's as scary as it gets. But if I was putting money on it, I'd have LAFC in the conference final.
All right, and my main guy George, any chance that LAFC doesn't make it to the Western Conference Finals?
I mean, I think Eric knocked it out outright. The problems that LAFC has, but I don't know. I mean, the league's caught up, but LAFC is scary at home, and I could tell you about it last year about at the conference finals. So it's really up in the air.
All right, so we all think LAFC is going to make it to the second round, and we feel like if it's Seattle, LAFC moves on. If it's Houston, it's going to get interesting. Fair. And then down on the bottom, RSL, I think consensus, we all believe they'll take out Minnesota. Unfortunately, we all believe Carson's going to be Colorado. Even Eric, even though he tries to deny it, I can see it in his eyes. He also believes that. So, any chance that Carson loses to RSL in the second round? Eric, any chance that Carson loses to RSL? Why am I even asking Eric?
I just love that you're saying Carson for them every time.
I'm trying.
This is like the biggest dub I've ever had in podcasting. Well, I think the group consensus was that LA was going to go through the Carson and RSL.
Yeah,
man. I mean, this is for the MLS. This is a playoff matchup as old as time itself. Like the Carson Galaxy versus RSL. I mean, they have to have met in the playoffs probably at least 13, 14 times in the last 28 years. So, man, I mean, people older and wiser than me are going to have to pick this one. But I do think that the Western Conference Final collision course is probably going to be a El Tráfico, which has never happened. But I think most betting people would have that. But I would much rather see RSL come through on that. Like, so I'm picking RSL over Carson, just like I'm picking Colorado over Carson. And y'all can tell me the semifinals that my opinions were effed.
Well, I will tell you, I do not think that that we're gonna get an El Tráfico Western Conference. I think somebody's gonna get knocked off on the way over there. I just don't see it. Alex,
I think MLS wants Carson and LAFC
I agree.
to be in the Western Conference Final, because obviously that's going to get you the most views, that's going to get you the most
100%.
eyes, and everybody's gonna want to tune into that matchup.
MLS wants El Tráfico on the West Coast and Miami Columbus on the East Coast. That's what the MLS is hoping for.
Yes. However, I want RSL to face off Colorado in the next round. However, I do think it'll be RSL Galaxy, and I don't know if RSL right now can beat the Galaxy. I think RSL is coming into this one and coming into the playoffs in not the best of form. I think I need to see what they do before Minnesota, before I have a little bit more confidence in taking on the Galaxy. But right now, if we are putting the Galaxy through, I do think RSL falls to LA, the LA Galaxy.
Mitch?
How can I pick against my guys? But I think it's I have Galaxy in my bracket in the cup.
And you have
final.
RSL.
And I do have RSL. Yeah.
So who wins there?
I have Galaxy. Like I said, my bracket has Galaxy in the Cup final.
Okay.
RSL can put up goals like nobody. Like I said, like like nobody's
Yeah.
business. So it would be fun as hell to watch. I would probably hate watch it if the Rapids weren't in it. So just hope for a meteor to crash or something. Yeah, I'd still lean to Galaxy.
All right, so we got Galaxy almost across the board in the Western Conference Finals. And George, any chance that Carson doesn't beat RSL in the quarterfinals to make it to the conference finals?
No, I hate to break it, but yeah, I think Galaxy does get past RSL.
Yeah, I think it's a consensus. I think LAFC might have ended up with the tougher draw getting that first seed, just because they have to play against Seattle or Houston in the second round. Not that RSL's a pushover, but I think I'd rather see RSL than those defenses with Seattle and Houston. All right, so I'm not even gonna ask who you think is gonna win because we can, but I think that's as far as we'll get. We think LAFC and Galaxy possibly. I think somebody's gonna get knocked off on the way over there. Now, on the Eastern Conference show, I asked a question at the end. I feel like it's necessary to ask it here. Last Saturday, there was a lot of flack going around because Inter Miami got qualified or invited to the Club World Cup. Now, here on the East Coast, a lot of crap was being talked. A lot of people saying that they were just handed it and they didn't deserve it. Kind of interested in what the West Coast thinks. So I'll start counterclockwise. George, do you care at all? And do you think that they deserved it or didn't deserve to be in the Club World Cup?
No, I think the invitation is great for the league. I mean, sure. I mean, we're on the West Coast, so we really don't care what happens on the other side.
On the East, right?
Yeah, but I mean, when you have those types of players, those superstars, megastars, you definitely want to showcase them, and it's great for the league, like I said.
Right, because it was an open spot, an invitation to the host, right? No qualifying. And I see Mitch shaking his head, so I'm gonna go up to Mitch. Mitch, undeserved, I see.
I do think it was deserved, but because obviously they're a very good team, but only because they're such a good team. Like it was handed, like they were just given a spot because they have Messi on the team. That's why it happened. They're deserving because they're really good, but they were just given it because they have Messi. That's why.
Yeah. Look, Ohio hates Miami right now. Like there's I never knew that Ohio was so hostile, but they've become quite the thorn in our
That's
side.
all they have.
Twitter, so.
All they have is sports. They hate everybody. All they have is sports.
Yeah, I mean, look at the weather they got up there. I can't,
and Cincy, their rival should be Cincinnati, but Cincinnati hasn't been a very tough rival for them lately.
No, right. not. So, Eric, any pushback on them getting invited to the Club World Cup?
No, not really for me. To me, I mean, it's the cupcake entry, honestly. And I thought because
they already had an MLS team that technically earned it, right? Seattle. So this was just
Seattle earned
an invite.
because you earned it by winning.
Was just an invite.
CONCACAF, and we lost 2 finals. Either one of those finals, we would have qualified as well. So as far as thinking, do we deserve it? The only qualification that would have done it for us is if they take the 4-year window and what team has won the most points in the 4 years. That would have been the only scenario that puts LAFC through, which I could see as being a valid excuse to put it through. But again, for me, we had 2 opportunities to go through. One of them was really tough, and the other one we probably should have done better. So, but to me, it's again, it's the cupcake entry, and do we want to have been gifted an entry to it? It's I'm not super hurt about it. Miami makes sense to go in from the league's perspective, but I agree. I think they were kind of waiting to see what happened so they could announce a pathway to do it that just so happened to be the pathway that puts Miami there. But they want Messi in this tournament. For me, I just wanted to see a chance for LAFC versus Palmeiras. But, I'll have my team to cheer for in that anyways. And it sure as hell will not be the Sounders.
So it sounds like it's an Ohio hatred thing. Let me finish it off with Alex. Alex, any beef with Miami getting that bid?
No, I'm impartial to it all. I do. I mean, obviously, when you have Messi in the league, you want to showcase him and you want to do as much as you can to get him out there and get the word and the gospel of MLS out there more. And so, what better way to do it than to put Lionel Messi in the Club World Cup? I don't know. I wouldn't say undeserved. It does kind of suck because I mean, the Club World Cup usually takes the qualification of how the team did last season, and last season Miami didn't make the playoffs. So that's
Right.
where I'm a little. That's where I'm a little about it. But at the end, I just hope that they can make a decent run and represent MLS well.
So all I've gotten from this conversation is fuck Ohio. All right, I'm down with it. I like it. All right, and then last question, and then we'll wrap this up. The finalists for the MVP came out today. That you had Benteke for some reason, even though half of his goals are penalty kicks. You got Messi, you got Suarez, you got Cucho. Who do you think's gonna win? I'll leave it at that. George, who do you think's gonna win MVP?
I mean, I think it just has to be Messi. It's not even like being whether you're a Messi lover, fanboy,
Hey, I'm with you.
For the goal contributions with less games, had he played more games, obviously he would have cleared Benteke and Suarez, but it's still impressive for Suarez being up there as well. And Benteke for, the East, great squads out there and great players. The East has gotten really strong, but I think Messi's going to clear it.
Boom, Messi. All right, Alex, who do you think?
I use my media vote for Cucho. I'll be honest and say that I voted for Cucho Hernandez. However, I do think Messi will take it.
Okay, you think he'll take it, but you don't think he deserves it.
I wouldn't necessarily say he's not deserving of it, but there is. I mean,
because the thing is, a lot of people that have votes keep telling me, like, I think Messi's going to win it, but I voted this way. I'm like, what the fuck? How's he going to win this way if everybody voted against him?
And no, that's a valid point. That's a valid point. But I do, I don't know. I think it's going to come down to most of like the national guys seems like they are voting for Messi. And I think that's what it's going to come down to.
Okay. Mitch.
So I do have a vote as well, and I voted Messi. It's just I was on the fence, and then he subs on decision day and puts in a casual hat trick like nobody's business.
Yeah, I get you.
So what it was the final thing that pushed me over. It was between him or Cucho for me, and it's kind of one of those undeniable when you just look at the volume.
Well, and just real quick,
rate,
not to get
not
too
the volume,
into
sorry,
it.
at the rate,
right? Not to get too far into it, but they wouldn't win the supportership without Messi. People point to the summer when they were beating bad teams during the summer, but the first 18 games of the year, this team was lost. It was injured, and Messi carried them the first 18 games, and people forget about that. They don't count that. They wouldn't win the supportership without him. And Eric, how are you feeling? Is Messi the MVP or is it Benteke?
No, I also think that Cucho probably should be the MVP. But I think Messi's going to win the MVP.
I've been hearing that so much. Cucho's going to end up winning it. That's all I hear. Cucho should win it. Messi's going to win it.
To me, the reason why I don't think it should be Messi is because like the MVP is a player that like the team really suffers with them off the field. And I think that Miami showed without Messi, they still just continue to dominate everybody. So
they're bad teams though.
Well, I can't help it. The whole rest of the East sucks, but that's a whole other conversation. If you were in the West, who knows what it would be like? But I think you'd have a little tougher sled on that. But I think that Columbus without Cucho
they won a Champions Cup game without him. I don't know. I think that whole look. I'm a Cucho stan. Cucho's my favorite non-Inter Miami player. He played for my club in Colombia, so I've watched him. I love Cucho. But I think it's overstated how bad they are without him.
I think that Columbus without Cucho is much worse than Miami without Messi. Even though Messi is obviously a better player with a better pedigree, all of that. I mean, he is one of the greatest to ever put on the boots. But again, like Columbus without Cucho they're not scary anymore.
I agree. And then Kevin, I agree with you. I am an Inter Miami fan, but the current kits that they're wearing are the worst kits in MLS history. And that's not hyperbole. Literally the worst kits in MLS history. All right. I appreciate you guys hanging out with us. Let me let you guys sign off real quick by letting us know where you guys are and where everybody can catch you. I'll start with George from Dynamo. What's going on, man? Let everybody know where they can find you.
Thank you, for the invite.
For sure.
And thank you guys for having me on the show. And it was great getting to meet y'all. You guys can find me at Dynamo Fan TV on all social media. And, we cover all Dynamo.
All right. And then my co-host on the Battered Herons absolutely hates your goal song, the Mike Jones.
Oh, yeah.
He absolutely hates it.
That was a great trip to Fort
I know, because
Lauderdale.
they were playing the song in our stadium. We hate that song.
No, yeah. Let them know.
Hell yeah.
Were you one of the Houston people that I saw wearing a Houston Dynamo kit with Messi 10 on the back?
No, those
that wasn't you.
Were funny. No, I was on the field.
Okay. Okay. I took those pictures and put them on Twitter. So if you saw those pictures, that was me putting everybody on blast.
It says Jones in the back.
Mike Jones.
Mike Jones.
Who?
Let him know. Yep.
All right, George. Thanks a lot, man. Make sure you guys follow him on Dynamo Fan TV. Eric, let everybody know where they can find the Keanu Reeves lookalike.
Hey. I get Josh Hartnett way more, but nobody.
I don't know who Josh Hartnett is. Yeah.
Yes, nobody does. They did 20 years ago because I'm old. But you just
Pearl
find me.
Harbor. Come on.
Yeah. Eric Hallstrom on Twitter right now.
Man, you do look like this guy.
Wow.
I know who I look like.
Wow, Josh. Wow. If you guys are on your computers, make sure you look up Josh Hartnett. It looks just like him. All right, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Eric.
Yeah, no, I'm on Twitter as Eric Hallstrom right now. Stay tuned. We'll have another podcast coming up probably next season. Until then, I'm just be kind of guest hosting around.
Hey, man, you're more than welcome to talk West Coast over here anytime, Eric.
Yes, sir.
All right, Alex. Returning for those of you from Miami watching the show right now, remember Alex from the beginning of the show season. Please let everybody know where they can find you.
Yeah, you can definitely find me on Twitter at Napolis Alex. You can follow the RSL show for all the RSL news at RSL show. And yeah, man, we're on Twitter, we're on Instagram, and so anything that RSL related, we'll be there for it, and so you can find us there.
Awesome. And then the best studio in the league goes to Mitch. Let everybody know where they can find you.
Come check us out. Yeah, we're on DNVR Sports on YouTube. That's where we're going to go live once a week from the studio. Then we'll have a post-game show every week as well. And then DNVR_Rapids on Twitter. And right there, mine, Mitch __ Carroll on Twitter as well. We put up a lot of, dumb memes and silly reactions. And we're here for the vibes. So definitely come check us out and check out the studio.
You gotta check out that studio. It's really beautiful. And I'm Daniel Granada, Battered Herons on 4 times a week, and we're doing this Battered MLS fans. If you guys haven't already subscribed, like, and all that good stuff, we'll be back on. It's a game on Wednesday, talking the second go around of the first round. So we'll see how things are going by then. But if you are listening on audio, we appreciate you listening all the way to end. Please leave us like 5 stars. Jesus Christ. 5 stars, comment, review, all the good stuff. If you're watching on YouTube, thank you for watching all the way to the end. Please like, subscribe, share, tell your friends. And for those of you in the comments, as always, you guys are the best part of the show. We appreciate you hanging out with us for the last hour and 8 minutes. And until the next one, have a good one.